Hey, what's up, everybody? We're episode 20 of Collider's Heroes. I'm Jon Schnepp, and we're bringing you the cinematic world of heroes and villains every week. With me today, we've got, as always, John Campea. What's up, John?
This is going to be the last Heroes that I do as a Fantastic Four virgin.
Oh, that's right.
Tomorrow I will see Fantastic Four, and then we can talk about it.
We will probably be, hopefully we're going to do a
spoilers review on Friday,
awesome.
Yes.
And with us this week, we have the returning Umberto Gonzales. Thanks for coming back, Umberto.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to lose my virginity as well tomorrow.
That's right. And it makes three of us. I cannot wait to totally get nailed by the Fantastic Four. Or shall I be nailing them? We don't know how it's going to go. First on the dock, we're going to talk about the trailer. I feel like it's the pizza guy. Trailer.
Trailer to the trailer.
Yeah, it's the trailer to the trailer that's supposed to be happening tonight, as Umberto, you said, on Conan, right?
Conan's show, yeah.
Yeah, well, the trailer to the trailer is really, really funny.
Oh,
and it's literally just Deadpool sitting in a chair, talking crazy smack. And if this is indicative of what the movie is going to be, I'm 100% all on board. I cannot wait to see this film. What do you guys think about the trailer to the trailer?
Oh, I'm excited as hell. They just rated it TVMA for mature audiences for tonight's Conan's appearance, but it's good to see like some edgy superhero fare again that could be a little bit mature and adult themed. It's welcome. I can't wait. I mean, it's funny. It's this clip that they showed at Comic-Con, but you know, Ryan Reynolds uttering profanities in character. That was, and with what is that, whiskey next to him? Come on, come on,
fine bourbon sitting
bourbon.
beside. I gotta tell you, I cannot help but be extremely pumped by this, because if the stuff they're giving us in the marketing material is any indication of the tone and the type of, you know, frenetic pace that this movie's going to get, then unbelievable. When he starts going off, and granted, they did show this at Comic-Con as well, but now we can all see it and talk about it. When he starts going off about, brought to you by the studio who inexplicably sewed his effing mouth shut in the first movie. Like, the fact that they're addressing all of that is like, starring 5-time Academy Award viewer, Ryan Reynolds, which I thought was great.
Oh my God.
Look, Ryan Reynolds was freaking born to play Deadpool. He's been dying to play Deadpool. He's been, you know, the biggest cheerleader, the biggest advocate for getting this movie made. This movie wouldn't be getting made if it wasn't for Ryan Reynolds. And just seeing how he's doing it right from that first, remember that announcement they did on how they announced that they were doing it rated R when they did that thing with Slater?
Yeah, that's awesome.
That was genius. So brilliant. If they bring just 1/10 of that creativity and that humor that they're having in all the marketing materials into the movie, then this could be, I don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but it could be something really special.
Yeah, it feels really special. And like you said, it was mature, but it's incredibly immature.
Yes.
But for mature audiences. I enjoy the immaturity of Deadpool, and that's what makes him fun to read. And the comics are really fun. It looks like they're emulating that perfectly in tone for the movie version. So, hey, if the trailer of the trailer is this good, and I think all of us already saw the trailer from Comic-Con, and if you've already seen that leaked weird version, you know, we could talk about that because it's been online. I don't know if it's going to be the same exact trailer. They might have modified it.
Well, you know, as Umberto was mentioning earlier that, you know, we're going to get that TVMA thing that they're going to release tonight. By the time a lot of you seen this, the trailer will already be out, but they're releasing it tonight on Conan. And that's probably the one pretty close to the one that they showed us at Comic-Con. But here's the interesting thing that we were talking about earlier. That's a rated R trailer. That's a red band trailer. But as we talked about in the Fantastic Four new spot that the Fantastic Four put out today, and Deadpool's at the end, Deadpool announces in that trailer, hey, in front of the Fantastic Four is the trailer to my movie. Fantastic Four is a PG-13 film. You can't play a red band trailer in front of a PG-13 film. So I'm wondering, are we going to get the same trailer that they're going to play tonight on Conan, just edited, or are we going to get a totally new Deadpool trailer, a green band Deadpool trailer tomorrow? We could get two completely different trailers in 2 days.
I think it would be fantastic. Twice the excitement, twice the. I mean, look. I mean, if you haven't seen the trailer and you want to wait, you know, till later, I'm going to do a quick spoiler. I'm going to count down to 5, and then we're going to talk like for a few minutes about the trailer that we saw at Comic-Con. 5, 4, 3, 2. You better not still be here and crying and whining on the comments board. Get out of here if you don't want to hear about it. Bam. So Colossus fighting Deadpool. I mean, there's so many amazing sequences in that trailer that I'm so happy that they're like not making us wait for another like 5 months. We're like, look, you only had to wait 2 weeks. That's not a long time. You know, I saw the rickety version that was like somebody threw online, and I was like, that was just enough to sate me. Like, all right, I saw enough that it looks really cool. I'll wait till the actual trailer comes out. What do you guys think of the actual trailer that they showed at Comic-Con?
Well, what's the name of the actor from Silicon Valley and who's in Transformers?
T.J. Miller.
T.J. Miller, thank you.
Yeah.
Huge fan. The sequence, they keep going back to it in the trailer where he's like, no, like, you're really ugly. Like, that, at first I'm like, this isn't that funny. But as it kept going, it's like, wait, this is getting funny. And then by the end of it, I was like cracking up.
The raisin that screwed another raisin. There's whatever that weird line.
It was
so
great. The
crazy.
dialogue they were coming up with was fantastic. So I
like a gray
loved
raisin.
It. Yeah,
I can't remember.
I loved it.
Negasonic
Teenage Warhead.
Yes, that was awesome.
what the-
Colossus.
Yeah.
That's the coolest name ever.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It just looks like a lot of fun.
It rocked the house. It rocked the house.
I'm
The
sure it was
latest- yeah.
fantastic to see with a crowd.
No,
So.
the latest DC versus Marvel argument. No, the Batman versus Superman trailer was the best thing at Comic-Con. No, the Deadpool trailer was the best thing at Comic-Con. They knocked it out the park, man. It was well worth the wait and stuff. So
They are wrong. Batman versus Superman was the best trailer. But that's the funny thing about Comic-Con this year. It wasn't just that. It was like people were going on about the Batman versus Superman trailer, but they were going on about the Deadpool trailer.
Yes.
A lot of people were going on about the Suicide Squad.
Suicide Squad
They're-
trailer.
I mean, it
brought their
was
A game.
Trailer
Yeah.
City.
Trailer City.
Trailer City
absolutely.
Comic-Con.
Yeah,
this
I
year
gotta
was great.
say, I mean, I love the Batman v Superman trailer just because it delivered in such an epic way.
Absolutely.
Like everything that we want that trailer to be. That, you know, the first teaser trailer was like, oh man, this looks good. This was like, bam, I cannot wait to see this film. But I got to be honest, the Suicide Squad trailer is the one I've watched more.
Really?
And it's got more views, like 50 million.
Yeah, it does have more
And
views.
to me,
yeah.
it's just because it's so different and so new,
Yes.
and something that I wasn't anticipating that DC would do, and also something with a kind of like not the top list, you know, it was like a Guardians of the Galaxy type of approach, which I think is going to work out great. They took a bunch of characters that a lot of people didn't know a lot about, and they're giving them their own movie. They're putting a spin on it and a twist on it and integrating it into the cinematic world that they've already. Recently, Zack Snyder released a lot of, you know, in some of these online stories, how they've mapped out the entire DC cinematic world, and all these different directors who are taking on Aquaman and Wonder Woman, and Batman, they're gonna be able to see where their movie falls into the timeline of the Justice League. So they basically went, how do we establish the Justice League and work our way backwards, which Man of Steel and Batman v Superman are now part of this entire world that Snyder and a bunch of other writers are involved in, like mapping out. So when we get someone like George Miller or whoever they're going to announce next, who's taken on one of these properties, it's going to fit right in and also have their own take and their own spin. So I think it's a great way to expand their world. So
You know, and this could finally make us really. It's been lately. Going back to the Deadpool trailer, it has been. Because X-Men has been hit and miss. I mean, when it hits, it's been X-Men 1, X-Men 2, X-Men Days of Future Past.
Yeah.
But if Deadpool can deliver, and we're coming off of X-Men Days of Future Past, the dynamic and the landscape of the DC versus Marvel is going to change. Because it ain't DC versus, now it's DC versus Marvel, and Fox is going to be part of that. Because if they can start crushing Deadpool and like they're crushing X-Men right now, then now it's a total game changer.
Well, next year is the first year that Fox is ever going to be putting out three X-Men franchises. You got Deadpool, you got X-Men Apocalypse, and you have Gambit.
Is Channing Tatum still in that movie? I heard he might not be in that movie.
We're going to talk about that in a little bit, guys. We don't know. Stay tuned. We'll discuss it in about an hour. Next up on the docket, we have got Spider-Man's brand new outfit and more. Now, this has been running around the web recently, this drawing. None of it's been confirmed. The Russo brothers have been dropping weird, super extreme close-ups of fabrics and of weird gear. I don't know what kind of S&M they're into, or that's like a brand new Spalding basketball.
We hung out with them. They seem they're kind of weird dudes.
Now, let us tell you, they are super strange guys. No, they're two of the nicest guys.
Yes.
They're also hardcore nerds. It was really fun to talk with them. We still know stuff about this Civil
That we
War
can't talk
that we
about.
can't
That
talk
we're not
about.
allowed
And
to
that was
talk
months
about.
ago.
Yes.
But the Russo brothers are fantastic dudes. I'm so happy that they're continuing on not only with Captain America, but that they have been given the Infinity Gauntlet itself to like be rocking. So I totally have my faith and trust with them. How they're introducing Spider-Man. Now we've seen this costume. It makes sense. Like at first, I think Spider-Man enthusiasts are going to be like, "What the hell is this?" You know what I mean? But when you think about it, they're like, "Look, we're going back to a kid in high school." who somehow magically got bitten by some weird spider. He doesn't have fabric sewing abilities. Like, that's the one thing that always bothered me about some of the other Spider-Mans is like, how did he, I mean, I know he has like improved dexterity, he has little fibers crawling out, and he could crawl on walls and stuff. How did he sew that incredible outfit, or let alone design it? They show him drawing it.
Yeah.
Only one person could design that, and that's Steve Ditko. So come on. They should have at least had him go out to a costume designer or something, but this looks like it might be addressing that one problem point that I had, at least in the movie development. It doesn't, I never care that much about comic book superheroes or supervillains. How it's like, now I have this amazing outfit that was designed by my friend here. Before we fight, let me explain how I came. You know, you don't really need those explanations. When you're talking about the real world, we know why Iron Man has his outfit. We know where Captain America's outfit was, what it was inspired by from the movie, the way they did it. It was like, you know, let's get all the troops going. And then it was just, I'm keeping the jacket and the hat and this. And then let's, you know, it went from there. What do you guys think about this drawing?
Not feeling it, man. For some reason, is, you know, my gut's telling me that's not the suit. I don't know. I could be wrong, but you know, the whole goggles. I mean, I get where you're coming from, that he's a kid that has no, you know, costume design. He's not Colleen Atwood, you know, putting together like suits and stuff. But it feels realistic, tonally, what you're saying. But I don't see it for some reason. I think they might go just traditional with the webbing under the arms.
No, but I'm
big
saying,
eyebrows. I don't know.
saying before we get to you, John, what I'm saying is they're going to start with this. Like, the kid has spider powers. He's like, I'm going to help out. I'm going to do something. I'm going to make a stand. Maybe how he gets introduced into Civil War is he has to throw together something. Yeah. Who knows? I'm just saying this won't be his ultimate costume.
No, obviously.
He will definitely be wearing a Spider-Man outfit, if not at the end of Civil War, at least in his own film. What do you think, John?
I also don't believe that this is a real thing for one very, very important reason. Now, before I get to that one reason, yeah, like what you're saying, it's been a trope in all superhero movies. Wait a minute. How do they become a master sewer? How did they become a master fabric designer? Where did this guy get his outfit from? As much as, wait a minute, people don't know he's Superman because of the glasses. I mean, it's kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
But we just accept it. We just accept it and we move on.
Someone from Krypton designed that, man. Remember the thing opens, it's already made for him. It's all right, I'll take that.
We kept it here for you.
Yeah.
How it made it here in your little bubble ship, I'm not
right.
sure.
The cape is here. It's a symbol of hope.
What really leads me to believe that this isn't true is something that Kevin Feige said a while ago, and that's by the time when Civil War comes around, this isn't an origin story.
Right.
Spider-Man has already been Spider-Man for a while. He's already been going around New York City doing his thing. So it's not like in that Tobey Maguire Spider-Man where the first week or two where he's doing it, Tobey Maguire has a suit, not unlike that. Right. And that would make sense. But if he's going to have been Spider-Man for a while, then he can just show up in the suit. They don't have to worry about an explanation, and he is what he is. So because it's not an origin story, I'm going to believe that this picture doesn't represent what he's actually going to be.
I'm going to stick with, I think that something along these lines will be in the film, is because I think to introduce Spider-Man in Civil War, you also have to introduce him to either Captain America or Iron Man. Right. Now, if he gets introduced to Iron Man, Tony Stark might have a little something to say about his costume. And he might be like, look, kid, I've designed adapted these web shooters to help your webbing. I've given you, and you know, you got a good costume design sense. I had Jarvis figure this out. I think that's the way they're going to rock Spider-Man's outfit, and how it looks so cool and molded, and however they're going to make it, whether it has any of the Iron Spider elements to it, or whether it's just going to be the traditional like Kirby black and red spider outfit, which is very unique. I think what they're showing us here, or what this concept design, and a bunch of these designs have been floating around, none of us know what is real or not, is that, yeah, he's Spider-Man, but that's his version of how he, as a kid, can be Spider-Man. So he might be fighting the Scorpion, whoever it is that he's fighting in the Civil War film, as with this Spider-Man outfit, and by the end of it, either he gets an outfit by either Avengers, or someone helps him get the Spider-Man outfit that we all know. That's my guess.
It's like how Captain America gets his suit updated by S.H.I.E.L.D. every year.
It kind of makes more sense to me that way, but you know, we'll find out in like less than a year. It comes out. Civil War comes out. It's coming out pretty soon.
It's coming.
All right, let's move on to something that I'm just calling The Crow Flies Away Again. They just can't seem to rock this Crow movie. It seems like it's taking a really long time to make an adequate sequel to the Brandon Lee Crow film, which is one of my all-time favorite goth superhero films to ever have been made. It's got the Cure soundtrack. It's got amazing. All the first two have at least an incredible soundtrack to go with. But they made a Crow 3, 4, 5, 6, I don't know, 7, 8. I don't even know how many they made. They had a TV series. Yes. Now they've been talking about doing this new Crow, which is way more faithful to James O'Barr's original comic book. He was involved in it, in getting this script done. So it should be a lot darker. It should be a lot like not gothier, but just a little more realistic, I guess, as far as realistic with people coming back from the dead and becoming crows and stuff like that. You know, it's like, what do you guys think about this crow news? Basically, Relativity is having issues, so they just pulled out.
Basically, I've been tracking the project for a while,
right?
And it doesn't look like it's going to happen anytime soon for now because of Relativity's financial issues. They just declared bankruptcy. Their paperwork just came out. It's a very complicated company, the way they handle their finances. No money, no movie. So for now, dead superhero movie, unfortunately. But there's been, from what I'm gathering, there's been other companies stepping into the plate and asking about the availability, maybe getting the rights to further the development. They were ready to go with the guy from Boardwalk Empire.
Right.
But then the agencies figured out that that Relativity was having financial issues.
He bailed.
They owed the union so much money. So yeah, of course he bailed, and they made a last-ditch offer, but it just got shut down like last week before they declared bankruptcy. For now.
So with them declaring bankruptcy, similar to like what MGM was going through with Bond,
right?
It's tied up.
Yeah, they had Bond. You could get financing and build a library back on the strength of Bond. The last two made like $1 billion each.
Right.
This is the Crow we're talking about. It's a smaller company. You know, so it's not looking good right now.
I don't know. I would like to know, how do you shut down a project that has not been alive for years? I mean, look, they had Tom Hiddleston. Tom Hiddleston's going to be the Crow. Yes. Yay, we all get excited. Things moving. Oh, Tom Hiddleston leaves. Then Luke Evans. Luke Evans is going to be the Crow. Yay, and there's all this talk about all this movement happening. Everything's happening. Nothing happens. Eventually, Luke Evans leaves. Then they say the guy from Boardwalk Empire. What is the actor's name, Dennis? The guy with the half face. Thank you, Jack Houston, who I believe he's in the new Ben-Hur, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. I'm very curious to see him in that. But then he's on, he's going to go, yay, and still nothing happens.
Oh, you forgot to mention Bradley Cooper before Tom Hiddleston.
Was Cooper attached to that
Cooper
too?
was attached,
loosely,
completely attached, and was going to happen, and then his time window fell apart, and then
for 3 years, at least 3 years, we're hearing, we're ready to go, we got our star, things are moving, nothing's moving. And then it's rinse, cycle, repeat, live, die, repeat. It's just been the whole thing over again. So hearing that the plug's gotten pulled on the Crow, it's like, I'm sorry. You're not pulling the plug on a corpse. The body's been dead already.
Well, I do know that, the director is a music video director. I do know that he actually was like in talks with some of my friends who are concept artists, and they were moving forward with it like a couple months ago. He was actively moving forward with James O'Barr. They were developing scenes, getting some of the concept art. So though they were having issues locking some of their actors down and locking down probably where they're going to shoot it and what they're going to do with no money, they were still moving forward creatively. So I don't know, what that means as far as like Relativity pulling the plug. Does that mean everyone's gone? Everyone's released from their contracts? It gets pretty sticky when these kinds of situations happen. So.
But I want it to happen because here's the funny thing. Yeah. All this pessimism I have about... Here's the thing. I think a new Crow made today, with today's sensibilities, the right cast and everything, I think... Hold on to your sacrilege hats here. I think it could be better than the original Crow.
I agree.
Absolutely.
I really do. I think there's it has really high potential to be better than the original. How often do you get to say that? It's potential. It's absolutely not guaranteed. So I'd like to see it happen. I'm just like, you know what? Don't talk to me anymore about now we've got 15 new stars lined up. Tell me when you start shooting.
Yeah.
Just tell me when the cameras are rolling, and then I'll be excited.
I agree with you. And I'm a giant fan of the first Crow film. I thought Alex Proyas directed it amazingly well. He's done a bunch of films that I love, Dark City, but the Crow is so well done, so well cast with Brandon Lee playing the Crow. You look back at that. I recently just watched the trailer again. I was like, that has so many elements of things that became so... Like the Crow is literally Heath Ledger's the Joker.
Yeah,
like almost verbatim. His face is almost exactly like that. Even just down to some of the scenarios where he's walking, that might have been like sense memories from Christopher Nolan. Where certain shots that Alex Proyas did are very similar to certain shots that Christopher Nolan did with the Joker. So it could have just been like in the back of his head, like let's frame it like this. But when you watch the Crow, if you watch it again, you'll see what I'm talking about with the Dark Knight. Anyway. The Crow eventually will, live again.
At some point.
Yeah. Let's move on to a thing. Why are they hiding the Fantastic Four movie? That's what I'm just calling this. Calling it like I see it, and hopefully I'm going to see it tomorrow. Maybe not, but then I get to see it the day it actually comes out, the next day. And there's they're not showing it to anybody. The cast hasn't even seen the movie.
I don't buy
the
that.
Cast has not.
Yeah,
the cast has not
that,
seen the movie. I buy that too. The cast has not seen the movie. Because they've been very secretive about the film. Why? That's a big question, especially after you see the 1 minute trailer, you see the 2 minute trailer, and now they just dropped a 3 minute trailer. All of it looks really fantastic. No pun intended. It looks like it's going to be a fun film. What's going on? What's up with Fox? What do you think, Umberto?
All the negative press behind the filmmaker, unfortunately, and the production, a lot of it got out and stuff. So most of these studios always come from a position of fear anyway. They don't know what they have. Right. Apparently, there was a screening yesterday with like they have for radio stations, and a bunch of kids are tweeting how great the movie is, a target audience. Not that I'm saying we should take their word literally and stuff, but it feels odd that with the superhero boom going through, we're now in Hollywood's heroic age, that they are holding it a little too close to the chest. I mean, I see it for myself tomorrow at 10:30. You see it in the evening.
In the evening, yeah.
So, and the embargo lifts at 6 o'clock tomorrow. So I'm morbidly curious to see what's going on. But from morbidly curious,
no,
absolutely.
That's a great way to phrase it, because that's the way.
Curiosity,
that is the way that Fox is making you feel.
Right.
That's a thing that they're doing on purpose to every single critic who's going to be reviewing it.
Absolutely.
So
I'm going in with an open mind.
See it, and it's like, what do they have to gain? Were they given any money to say it was incredible? I loved it. It was way better than I thought. If you read all those tweets, I've also been reading the back and forth between those tweets. Like some of it's Michael B. Jordan's basketball friend, or it's his rapper buddy. I said, okay, those are two. What about the other 30 that I read that all said it was great?
I'm just going to go in with an open mind and give it a shot, see what's up.
But that's all you can do, right? And that's what you got to do when you're in our business. When you go to see these movies, look, we talk about what our expectations are. We talk about what our, forecast for it is, what our predictions for it are. Yeah, that's all true. But when you go into a theater, what we guys like us have to do is you just check that all at the door. Absolutely. You got to leave all your excitement or fear or whatever it is you have about the movie, leave it at the door, go in and just judge the movie for what it is. And that's what we're going to do tomorrow. What has really hurt me, Mark Ellis said it best on Movie Talk the other day. You got to believe in your own film. And if you don't believe in your own film, act like you believe in your own film. And, it's just been funny. I've said this 5 or 6 times. It bears repeating. It took Fox a year to get me excited about Fantastic Four. I'm legit excited for this movie. Yep. It took them a day to kill most of my enthusiasm for it by hearing that we're not showing it to anybody. Review embargo is like 12 hours before the movie opens. We're going to hide it. We're going to hide it from everybody, because all that does for me is scream, we don't even believe in this movie. So why should I? So now I got to take that. Look, even if I was still super excited, I got to leave that at the door. Now that I'm pessimistic because of the way Fox is treating this film, I got to leave that at the door. But if this movie ends up being good,
oh God,
if it ends up being good, that will look even worse on Fox.
Absolutely.
Because if this movie's good, you know how much money this movie could have made if you let some people start talking about it a week ago and start building up buzz for it?
Yeah.
And if it's bad, then we'll know for sure. Yeah, that just confirms you didn't believe in your film and you made a bad movie. But if it's good, then I'm really going to be scratching my head. As far as these kids putting out the tweets, you can't take it seriously because it's a bunch of kids who get to go see an early advanced screening. Still better than hearing them all tweet, this movie was a piece of garbage.
Yeah.
So,
which they would because they saw it for free. There's nothing invested. They could easily trash it.
Maybe they could. Yeah. So let's just open mind and we'll review it on Friday. And I'm still choosing to believe it's going to be good.
All I can say is it better be complete garbage and trash because of the way they're treating this film. If this film is good, I'm going to be very angry because of the way they're treating it. It's like it makes no sense to me. I haven't gotten any of those red flags when I saw the trailer. Like you see a trailer, you're like, they're showing too much, or sometimes trailers are indicative of the film. I think, especially when they show too much or they do a little bit too much of. You could tell, all right, that's not really going to be that great of a film, or whoa, did they do an amazing job with that trailer? They showed everything good about it, and then the rest of the movie's garbage. That usually is not the case. With trailers can show you or lead you a little bit along the way. Every trailer I've seen for this has kept my interest. So it is a head scratcher. It's like, what are they doing and why? And I don't think it has anything to do with the movie, but I guess we'll all find out very soon.
At least we get to finally see the movie.
Yeah, we finally all get to see it.
Less than 24 hours.
All right, let's go to a thing I like to call minor mutations, where we're going to list off about 5 or 6 different items, this time 7. And then we're going to talk about it. So, number 1, we got Emily Blunt playing Captain Marvel. Now, is that even possible? Been hearing rumblings that she's already signed. Who knows if that's true? Is Jenna Malone actually going to be playing Barbara Gordon? Hey, I buy that for $1. The new Gambit
Did you just say I'll buy that for $1?
is, I did, Total Recall, had to do a callback. The new Gambit, guys, is Channing Tatum. What? I didn't know about that. I know he's still Gambit. All that other stuff was just, really good publicity for their movie. Olivia Munn is acting all super kicky. That's right. She can't stop doing these workout videos for us, and none of us are really going to complain about it. Let's see her act, though. More Fassbender and McAvoy in Xmen. Please, yes. Those guys are the glue that's holding these films together. We'll sign them on for another 3 films. Carter Hall is Hawkman. So he's going to be Hawkman in Arrow. He's going to be Hawkman in The Flash. He's going to be Hawkman with Hawkgirl in Legends of Tomorrow. And then finally, tribute to Roddy Piper, an incredible, amazing man. I had the privilege of getting to know him over this last year, and I was possibly going to work on a couple projects with him. Unfortunately, death is the ultimate killer of all things cool, and we all get to die eventually, but it's really sad when our friends die before us. So very sad, and it's a loss to the entire world that Roddy is not with us anymore. Guys, what would you like to say about this?
I like the X-Men story with Fassbender. I mean, I broke it. So Fassbender and McAvoy reportedly, according to rumors, signed on to do more X-Men films.
Right.
Because they were originally signed for 3, First Class, Days of Future Past, and now Apocalypse. So, and then Fassbender gave interviews to like MTV News saying that he's interested in moving forward and stuff. So I got word over the weekend, hey, they locked him down. They agreed to keep him on. So excited. Could we see Magneto and Professor Xavier team up with Deadpool perhaps in a future film or so?
Now, do you know if they sign up for more than one? Was it a multiple series deal?
That I don't know. I don't know. Like I said in the story, I don't know specifics about their I would imagine it's for another 3 movies.
Yeah, they don't sign single film deals anymore.
No, especially if it's wrapped up with the Gambit weirdness that was going on, and like Gambit's going to be in a bunch of other movies, and he's got his standalones. He's going to have to be rocking it with these guys. So
what you brought up something that I think is very, very intriguing. The whole idea of bringing now Deadpool and cross them in with the X-Men and stuff like that. Because there's a little comic run, I'm forgetting the exact time, but I believe it's Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe, which is absolutely hilarious, and how he's taken all these people out. So maybe if there's something like that's going on, or maybe Deadpool starts hunting down the X-Men or whatever.
Awesome.
There's so many creative things you can do about that. Emily Blunt as Captain Marvel. I've been hearing that for a long time. Emily Blunt, after Edge of Tomorrow, like really, we've known for a while she's so legit. I mean, she's great. Right. Then she just kicked ass in Edge of Tomorrow. I would like to see her as Captain Marvel. I still don't think she's going to be Captain Marvel.
Neither do I.
I don't think it's going to be her. And although if it comes out tomorrow, that's her. I'm happy. I'm a happy camper. She's a great talent, so that's fantastic. But I just don't.
She was almost Black Widow one time.
She was almost Black Widow. Yeah.
Reason I think she's gonna play Captain Marvel is because I think she's gonna be in these other films before she's in her own film. I think she's gonna play a large part in Infinity Gauntlet, is my guess.
I would still think Charlize has a shot. There's still no development or these cast time down to the Mad Max sequel. Even she said, look, I don't know what Mad Max Wasteland is, and she's hot off that movie.
Right.
And they aim very high always with talent. Look, they got Redford, other key towns. So I wouldn't put it past. I'm holding out hope for Charlize.
Hey, look, Charlize Theron, if they announce that tomorrow, you got this smile right here happening.
Oh, yeah, cool.
I'm cool with Emily Blunt or Charlize Theron. They're both incredible actresses. They bring every amount of A game to every single role that they do. So I'd be incredibly happy with them. What do you think about Jenna Malone as playing Barbara Gordon and not Carrie? That she was like, a lot of people thought she was going to play.
I don't know why anybody thought she was going to play Carrie. I mean, Carrie Kelly is supposed to be like a 13-year-old girl.
Right.
Like Jenna Malone is, whatever. And then some people are speculating, John, in the Batman versus Superman trailer, you see after the buildings come telling me Bruce Wayne is holding a little girl in the streets. She grows up to be Jenna Malone. It's there's like a year between then and then. And it's not
fan
her.
Theories. Oh my God.
I mean, it's like, it's incredible how quickly it's like, Jenna Malone has red hair. She's got red hair. People losing their minds over that. Clearly, she's going to be Robin. It's like, what? Just remember, I can't remember the name of the actor. Remember those set photos came out? The dude wearing green socks.
Well, he's going to be the Flash.
Yeah,
Yes,
obviously he's going to be
yes,
Flash.
yes.
What? Because he's got green
Scoop
sun.
McNair.
It's going to be moving really
Thank
quickly.
you.
Yes.
They're going to be moving really quickly.
Yes.
I don't even understand
What?
that.
No, but the all-time one's got to be Joker, as formerly as Jason Todd. That's the one that
That's
doesn't
what's
need the
still
nose.
going around.
Oh my
That
God.
is still
That makes
going
so
around.
little sense. I don't even want to bring that up.
Well,
I'm like,
sorry
hold
for
on,
bringing it
hold
up,
on,
but I
wait a
hate
second,
it.
get
But
that
wait
one.
a second, wait a second, wait a second. Now, while I do not believe that theory, I don't believe the theory. The reason I don't find it as super far-fetched as like why I won't keel over surprise if Warner Brothers decided to pull something like that out of their hat is that it does explain a lot. It would theoretically explain a lot from what we've seen in the trailers and in the stuff they've had so far. It also would be a very interesting narrative hook because you hear Bruce Wayne saying, "How many good guys are still alive in Gotham? How many of them are still good guys?" And then, who's leaving him those notes? Who's leaving him all that kind of stuff? And,
Right.
We saw on the Joker's tattoos, there's that one Robin. Obviously, our initial speculation is that because he killed Robin.
Right.
Some people are saying, well, that's because he was Robin. Look, I don't believe that.
God.
I don't. I do not think that's the case. I'm just not going to laugh at the people who think that's the case because I think there's like a 2% chance that maybe Warner Brothers decides to turn it on its head.
Don't hate me, but I'm going to laugh at anybody who thinks that.
That's
Ridiculous.
Got to
It's
shoot it down at
silly.
least once a day.
You got to at least. I'd rather have Nightwing in there, and instead of like bringing in this Jason Todd is the Joker thing.
Yeah.
But hey, come on. Carter Hall is Hawkman. I was happy to just hear that there's a Hawkman. That was one of the only few episodes that I watched from Smallville is when they brought in Dr. Fate. Then they had that crazy
They hold that
Justice
Justice
Society
Society
thing.
Yep.
Which I thought was cool. As a nerd, I was like, finally,
I thought it
wasn't-
was cool too.
Yeah, it was cool. So
Because what was the name? I asked this before too. Michael Shanks, I think the guy from Stargate who played Hawkman.
Yeah,
in
he was
that.
cool.
in
He was
this
like
one.
this
I thought it was
grizzly, weird
I
dude.
liked the incarnation. It was
Yeah.
almost a Batman Hawkman.
Very much so, yeah.
They gave us, but that's fine. They wanted that to play there because they couldn't use Batman at the time.
Totally.
So they had a Batman-like character. I thought that was very cool. I think Hawkman, as long as you don't go too campy with it, then I think bringing in Hawkman could be really cool, depending on how. It's all about how they use them. Right? I mean, they could bring in Mr. Mixelplex. It could be cool if you use them the right way. It's all about how they decide to use them. We'll have to see.
Thanagarians are cool though. They have a
Yes.
rich culture, all
Yeah.
their own and stuff. It's
I don't know if
good
they'll
for-
ever get to the Thanagar. I think they're going to be
Yeah.
like, let's leave
Do
it
we
in
even
Egypt.
know if they're going to reference them as being alien, or are they just going to be, no, I'm the Hawkman, I'm a guy from Toledo, and this happened to
guy
me,
from
and now I'm
Toledo.
Hawkman.
I think
Like,
they're going to subtly reference it.
You
I
think they'll
they're-
subtly go
I
into
think
alien
it's-
stuff?
Well, because they're saying they're incarnations or reincarnations from the Egyptian time, and every couple hundred years they get reincarnated. And I think they're going to explain the reincarnation thing as some kind of weird scientific gizmo thing from Thanagar. I don't know. That's my guess. They won't just be like, it's straight up reincarnation. I don't think they'll do that. That's a little too new agey, It's just reincarnation. Oh, were you a cow before this, or maybe a fly? No, I was the same dude. But no. Let's not get into it. What about Olivia Munn doing kicks? Did you guys see that?
I didn't see that, but I'm going to now.
don't care.
No, don't care.
Don't care. You know
Meh.
who else can kick?
Ronda Rousey.
Ronda
Ronda
Rousey.
Rousey
Yes.
can kick.
She can
And
kick
do I
anyone's
want her
ass is
starring in the
basically
movie?
what she can do.
No, and our buddy who's in G.I. Joe and played Darth
Ray
Maul.
Park.
Ray Park.
Snake
he can
Eyes.
kick. I don't want him a lead role. Look, Olivia Munn is one of these actresses. I was talking about that about Ronda Rousey earlier today. Olivia Munn was one of those actresses who she just sucked for a long time. But guess what? She worked at it and worked at it and worked at it, and she got better and better. And then all of a sudden, she's in a newsroom. And guess what? She's not just not sucking. She's pretty good.
She's very good, yeah.
She's gotten better. It's taken time and taken development and taken years, but she's gotten good. Look, does her kicking give me any enthusiasm for the movie? No. But
Did you see the footage of her kicking?
I did not see the footage of her kicking.
I think you should see the footage of her kicking, and then let's get back to it.
Is it kicking her old text to Christopher Pine? Is that would be interesting.
No,
to
it's actually
see.
she's actually got the form down. She does have
I'm
the.
sure they
So
do,
I was
and
like,
I'm sure
it's
she'll
not her
look
acting at all,
wonderful,
but she's going to be throwing some mean kicks. Is all I can say, fellas.
Yeah,
and
it's
gals.
not going to. No, it won't impress me.
All right, what about let's? I want to hear you guys say something about Roddy Piper, Umberto.
Oh man, Piper's Pit. I'll never forget all those years ago when he had Jimmy Superfly Snuka in there.
Coconut.
Boom. Yeah, man. Rest in peace. And of course, that fight scene in They Live.
Yep.
Classic, man.
One of the best fight scenes ever.
Ever.
I was. I'll count myself lucky enough to. I was talking with Roddy about doing something with that character that he played in They Live, and we were going to shoot something with Keith David, and we were like in preliminary talks about it. And Roddy had a great idea because they're all both older now. and we were talking about like, let's do this long version fight scene, but not like how people would expect it. And basically it's almost a 5-minute scene of he was just holding him and trying to get him to put the glasses on for almost 5 minutes. And then Keith David was throwing the glasses. There's all this kind of stuff where he was like smashing the glasses. Roddy luckily had another pair. And so we went through all this stuff, and then Roddy finally gets the glasses on, and Keith looks through a mirror and sees that his boss that he's been working for all this time is one of the aliens. So that was like, it's a regret that I have that we didn't get to do any of that stuff, but it was great to get to know him and get to work with him on a lot of stuff. I did some conventions right next to him and saw so many fans lined up and so happy. He was so great with every single individual person that ever walked up to him and said hello. He was never rude. He was always kind, always inviting, always had time for them. And that's just the kind of guy that he was. He was really a real guy and incredibly funny, amazing storyteller, went through a lot of things, had a lot of deep family issues that he was working through over this year. And I was glad that he was able to get through some of those. So it's a rough thing to find out when somebody dies. You never know what's going to happen. Yeah. And he was very young, 61. John, what are your thoughts about Roddy?
There were a lot of hours in my childhood spent with Roddy Piper. I mean, from the moment that the bagpipes would start to play. I remember when I watched wrestling a lot as a kid, he was like the first guy I remember making this, like a huge grand entrance where like you'd hear the bagpipes and like these 40 pipers would come out standing, playing the pipes, and he'd come walking down the middle. Whenever he would grab the microphone, you knew you were about to be entertained. Because when he would talk, like I said this before on Movie Talk, but it's true, before Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, there was Roddy Piper. And there would be no Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson if it wasn't for Roddy Piper. There just wouldn't. He like revolutionized what the mic skill was. And those skills that ultimately made Dwayne Johnson a star. He was just so great. And we told the story about how my first time I met Roddy Piper was at the Fan Expo in Toronto 7-8 years ago. And I just so meekly, like I was shaking. It was Roddy Piper. I mean, so I went up to ask if I could talk to him. He's like, yeah, let's sit down. He grabs 2 chairs. We sit down. We talk for like a half hour, going over a whole bunch of stuff. That's just the type of guy he was. He lived to entertain people. He wanted you to smile. And it's just, and you know, we were just saying the other day, Ann and I went down to watch WrestleMania this year, and he was at WrestleMania, and it was so, every time you get to see him, it's so cool. And it just sucks that we can't experience that anymore. It's really unfortunate.
Well, here's to you, Roddy Piper. You were amazing. Let's move on and do our flashback. This week, we're going to talk about Constantine. Came out in 2005, starred Keanu Reeves as somebody who didn't look like John Constantine from the comic book. So a lot of nerds like myself were like, how come he doesn't look like Sting? How come he's not blonde? How come he's not British? That being said, I got to say that I really enjoyed this movie version of Constantine. And it was kind of bummed out that they never did a follow-up sequel to it. I thought it was specifically really well done, the way they had the character of Constantine, even though it wasn't like the comic book. It was close enough where they followed it just close enough that it was satisfying for me. And I loved the weird versions of hell and death and all the different characters like Tilda Swinton and all these different people that they brought in to play these crazy characters in the film. What are you guys' thoughts about Constantine?
Meh, pass. I didn't like the movie back then, though. I thought it was like the special effects looked like they were rushed and it looked very CG-ish, like you knew it was fake and stuff. It took me out of the movie too much. Didn't have a good time with it.
Okay.
And ultimately,
I was looking forward to Constantine. I didn't end up liking it very much, and I found it kind of trotted through the movie a little bit. So I had a difficult time with it. I actually ended up liking the TV show that they had recently more than the movie, and I didn't love the TV show either. But yeah, so it was. I think it was an important movie. It's one they had to do. It's one they had to try, and I had no problem with Keanu Reeves in the role either. As a matter of fact, just overall for me personally, the movie didn't work.
Right on. I mean, for myself, I really liked it. I'll say this: I did like the TV series better because the series was truer to the comic book.
It was, yeah.
And you know, for myself, they finally got it right, and then they canceled it. So
find a second life for it somewhere on some digital network.
I certainly hope so. It's a character that's great, and I think with DC, having their Vertigo section of comic books moved into its own separate universe. So you'll have the DC Cinematic Universe, and you'll have these weirder, stranger, more adventurous titles, which are more adult, like Sandman or Constantine, will go into that world, which I think is great. I don't think they all have to be merged into one universe. Okay. So, all right, let's move on to Spotlight. And this week's Spotlight is basically a comic book that I think would do great as a movie or a television series. This one's called Martha Washington Saves the World. Now, this is a series that Frank Miller did right off a series of amazing different books that he put out. He did Sin City, and then he did Rusty and the Big Guy, which is a robot series. And then he did this one called, which is a series that he did called Martha Washington something, something, something. So the first one was like Martha Washington Saves the World. He did a couple of different series. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it, but it's basically Frank Miller, amazing writer and artist at the time, and brought in Dave Gibbons, the artist of Watchmen. So those two guys put their creative hats together and came up with this whole world. And it's a really fun, I mean, I had mentioned American Flag a couple weeks back. Yeah. This series that Howard Chaykin did in the late 80s. I think Miller was very influenced by that and was like, I'm going to do my own American Flag, but I'm going to do it with this female character and kind of, and almost the opposite. I'm not going to, she's going to be like super rebellious and basically break rank and really, the whole series is really like shows you, by thinking for yourself and just not following the leader, if you believe something's wrong, you'll fight against it. It's a great series. I don't know. I mean, have you guys checked it out?
No, but the last time I was here and you recommended Miracle Man, I fell in love. So I'm going to check out. I take your recommendation seriously. I'm going to check out Martha.
Yeah, you should. I mean, just there's every single run, all of the runs. I think there were like 5 different runs. There were all 6-issue storylines each. They've all been collected into this one massive, like $100 book, or you can just get one of the runs on, as a trade paperback for like $10.
Sure.
You can get that on Amazon. Have you got a chance to check it out, John?
No, this is one of those comics I've had a lot of friends of mine over the years tell me, you got to check this one out. And I just never did. I never got around to it. So it's really cool hearing you talk about it.
Yeah, it's definitely, it's Miller with his tongue in cheek, kind of way he's writing it. So some of it's pretty funny, and some of the characters are caricatures, but it never goes too far. It stays within that realm. It doesn't get too, like in his later writing recently.
Holy Terror?
Yeah, like Holy Terror. It doesn't get hokey or too goofy.
Yeah.
It was Miller when he was a little more honed and he was a little more able to keep that, the storyline, and then the jokey characters were there, but they weren't like a joke. So I highly recommend it if you haven't checked it out. And that's something that anyone who's a producer out there, if you're rocking Netflix or if you're like, a young producer, an old producer of films, get on this title and get it going. It's a title that would instantly translate, I think, especially now. Let's move on to Twitter questions. Number 1, we've got Garyn Howells asks, Darkman turns 25 this month. Would you like to see the character return to our screens in a movie or perhaps on television? What do you guys think about Sam Raimi's Darkman?
I love Darkman. I really do. And I think he would make for a great... I think I would rather see him as a movie. I think I would love to see you return the movie because I'd love to see 2 or 3 of them. I wasn't as big on Darkman 2 or 3.
Right. I don't think anyone was.
Yes, but
that's when direct-to-video meant something.
Yeah. But today, I would be very down for it. Maybe even have Liam Neeson in some kind of like a side role. Maybe not have him as...
Good God, have him as Darkman.
Or you could have him as Darkman too. I would go something a little bit different, but I would love to see this. I loved the original.
I have a special set of skills. And you go inside of his eye and he's breaking people's fingers.
No, I loved it when it came out. I saw it in the theater opening night and stuff. And like you said, the other 2 weren't worth the mention. But I'm going to take the opposite approach. I would like to. I think it's original world. It could probably work as like a 6 to 8 episode miniseries, maybe. But it'd be, and if they get Liam to come back, he's still in shape. He could still run and kick ass and stuff. Why not? Maybe Darkman 25 years later.
Yeah, I mean, literally, Darkman also was like had a lot of those Mission Impossible, moments that they have now in the new Mission Impossible movie series, where they have these form-fitting outfits and masks, but he had to wear it to disguise his disfigurement. So I think Darkman would definitely work now as I would say either or movie or TV series. Yeah. I know Raimi's rocking it right now with Bruce Campbell doing the Ash TV series. If they have success with that, I don't see any reason why they wouldn't be like, look, it's the 25th anniversary of Darkman. How many more months do we have? Is it this year or is it next year is the 25th anniversary? Well, it doesn't really matter.
I'm not really sure. The one problem is Darkman is a very different kind of superhero film. Could it do well today in a market that is becoming saturated with very high budget, very high profile, very deep brand awareness, other superhero films that are coming out there? Darkman is a very different kind of film. Could it do well today? I'm not sure it could do well. I think it could be good. I think it could be really good. I'm not positive on what its market appeal would be, though.
I would risk television more so than film, since we're talking about the marketing aspect, because I think they could make a more of a horror series and have him go against Creature of the Week, just like X-Files or something, and keep it in that zone.
Or like Constantine.
Yeah, or even Constantine. I would just keep it in that zone and not make it superhero-y, because it was never really superhero.
True.
The only thing that was superhero-y was that he doesn't feel pain, so he's sort of invulnerable.
Right.
You know, that guy at the end, like shooting the nail gun at him, like Sam Raimi style. So, let's see. I guess time will tell if Darkman will return. Next question comes from Adam Means. And he asks, who do you think will be the love interest in the new Spider-Man film? Gwen Stacy, MJ, or Betty Bryant? What do you guys think? Or Betty Brant, sorry.
MJ. I think they're going to go MJ. MJ is while Gwen Stacy was the original, that kind of stuff, Mary Jane Watson is the quintessential love interest to Spider-Man. And I think they're probably going to forego. Now, that's not to say we're not going to see a Gwen Stacy in the movies. I think we may. But I think they're just going to go with the oldie and the goodie, the tried and true, the quintessential love interest Spider-Man, Mary Jane.
What do you think?
I agree with John. They're going to go back to what works, Mary Jane. They obviously had a Gwen Stacy experiment these last two films, and to disastrous effect. So definitely, like what you said, tried and true, Mary Jane.
I'm going to go with neither. Ooh. I'm going to go with that Spider-Man in the first film. They're going to introduce Gwen Stacy, and they're going to introduce Mary Jane, and they're going to introduce Betty Bryant because she works at the Bugle.
Sure.
And they're going to leave it open. And they're like going to maybe have him.
Going to say Bill Cosby.
He's not going to be even mentioned. I think they're going to leave it open in the first film. The second film, he's going to date Gwen Stacy, who's also kind of hanging around with Flash Thompson. And then Mary Jane is going to be, face it, you just hit the jackpot, Tiger, in number 3. Because remember, they're in high school. So I think they're going to let him be a high school student. Maybe go on a couple dates, maybe fail.
Yeah.
I think it's I'd like to see that instead of he's like, oh, we're getting married in movie number 2. Let's take it easy. Let's slow down a little bit.
Let him go through puberty.
Yeah. He's supposed to be 16 or 17. Let's have some fun in the Ferris Bueller, John Hughes Spider-Man world that they're going to build, and hopefully shoot a couple every year or so, and not wait until he's 48 to get to the third movie. You know what I mean? If they're going to keep it in high school for the first 3 movies, get them while they're still in high school, or most of the cast is. So that's what I think. I think they're going to introduce all the characters, but they're not going to get too serious, especially in the first film.
Okay.
All right, let's go to the next question. George Tarantino asks, is there a chance we will see Adam Warlock and the Soul World in Infinity War 1 or 2? What do you guys think about?
Adam Warlock, yes. Soul World, no.
Right. What do you
Adam Warlock, hell yes.
Yeah.
Soul World, no. I mean, it's all leading towards there.
Yeah.
And I think there's been hints about it already.
Yeah.
And stuff. I think we're seeing them for sure.
Yeah, I don't know how deep we're going to get into any of these individual kind of storylines. Yes, obviously, the Infinity Gauntlet will be a very large portion of the part 1 and 2.
Yeah.
And I definitely think they're going to introduce Adam Warlock sooner than later. Probably sooner, as in Guardians of the Galaxy.
That's what
sooner.
I think.
So we'll see. Let's move on. Salvatore has a question. He goes, with Spidey in the MCU, should some of his lesser-known villains be introduced as well? Maybe his rogues gallery, which is massive. Umberto, what do you have to say? I think you just dropped a big possible spoiler this morning. What do you have to say about that?
I'll preface it. Kevin Feige, in an interview recently, said that we're going to see a villain in the Spider-Man movie that we've never seen before. So we already done Goblin, Electro. Who else is there? So I got a tip. Last week, the
You're not getting Paul back as Rhino? No, Rhino back as Rhino? What?
I can't believe you can barely understand what I'm saying. This morning I got a tip. Last week, the vice president of the story department over at Sony bought Kraven's Last Hunt for research purposes. So if you go to the WikiLeaks Sony leaked email database,
right,
her behavior in buying books that they're either going to option to buy or research is consistent with what she did last week. So I'm not saying Kraven's going to be the villain, but it'd be nice to see him. Somebody different, a hunter, somebody who could hunt down the Spider-Man. It'd be an interesting take. Let's see what happens.
I like the theory. I mean, it's definitely pulling it a little bit. I see the logic from hey, that's what they did, and that's how Amy gets her, her.
But why else would she buy it though? She's not a fangirl.
We were talking about why wouldn't Marvel just send it to him, but that's a whole other story.
Because they're cheap.
That's true. That's a whole other story. But Kraven is an interesting choice, because if they are going to go with the Ferris Bueller, I keep saying Ferris Bueller, but it's like the John Hughes world of Spider-Man in high school, wouldn't it be a weird, it would be a weird look of like this guy hunting this kid who's in high school because he figured out, because Craven has those higher sensibilities, he would be able to, that's Spider-Man. I could tell just without even a costume.
I can smell it.
I could smell it. That's Spider-Man right there. So he would be setting these traps for him while he's in high school. Be very interesting. My pick would be Scorpion or Mysterio. I think, and I want to see the old school Mysterio with a weird fishbowl head. It's a dude, some weird pissed off special effects guy. It would work out perfectly. He's like, no one uses practical effects, everything's CG. Have him have a reason and a purpose. Give him some anger. I'm going to take it out on the world and have everything become a special effect.
That sounds like a Saturday Night Live skit.
I know, it's a little too corny, 60s style. But look, I love the look of Mysterio. Maybe he could be a one-shot, real quick intro, knocked out of the bag, and then Scorpion shows up. Because I think Scorpion's a cool character too. What do you think, John?
I've been saying for a long time I would like to see Craven. I think Craven would be a great character, especially for Peter Sylvian's high school, trying to figure out even really to the full extent of what it is he is. Right. And I got some dude hunting me, considering me a prize of some sorts or whatever. Craven would be really cool because there's not a lot of danger with getting campy or too cheesy with Craven. Right. I think it'll bring, you're right, great. In a John Hughes movie, I think you juxtapose that now with a character like Craven introduced into a John Hughes kind of world. I think that juxtaposition could be really effective dramatically. So I don't know if I believe that it's going to happen because somebody bought a comic book per se, but I've been saying I want Craven. I think Craven would be cool. So I'll latch on to anything that might suggest.
So let's talk about the sweaty question of the week. Graham Parsons says, love the show. Do you think the Quantum Zone is a setup for Doctor Strange? And will we see Dormammu? What do you guys think? That they established the Quantum Zone in Ant-Man, and is that going to lead into some Doctor Strange activities?
Let's see. Dormammu was in the previous draft of the scripts when Donnelly and Oppenheimer were still around. And not saying they maintain most of the story. I know very little about it, but if we have the Ancient One, and who's the Ancient One's sworn enemy, Dormammu, I think it's a strong chance we see him.
And they've already cast Mordo as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we know that Mordu's in there. We know that the Ancient One's in there. We know that they're not necessarily going to do an origin story with Doctor Strange.
Correct.
We'll probably see some form of a flashback of when he was a surgeon or why he is Doctor Strange now. I'm guessing that they'll already have established his Sanctum Sanctorum and certain things that are established in the universe of Doctor Strange, and maybe have some kind of a flashback as to maybe him helping someone through some kind of a situation like how they did the original origin of Doctor Strange, helping someone who's having these visions of Nightmare and bring in Nightmare. And that's an easy way to introduce the astral form of Doctor Strange and get into the story mode of it. What do you think, John?
I think at the very least, we're going to get a reference. And I think more. I do think more. But at the very least, I think we're going to get a reference, if for no other reason than to open the door, pave the way for something a little bit later in further thing. I still don't believe there's any references in Ant-Man. I still don't believe it. I don't care what anybody else says. But I do believe that the character himself, I think we're going to see him there at some point, even if it's just a name only to start with.
Yeah, I mean, because Dormammu is the big bad. He's the he's the best villain that Doctor Strange had. I mean, are they going to just have him in the first movie and right off the bat, you're like, oh, well, now who's next? I mean, there's so much to establish.
That'd be as silly as having Doomsday in Batman versus Superman.
Or maybe it'll work. We don't know. But I'm really looking forward to the take that they're doing with Doctor Strange, making it a horror film. So I'm very much looking forward to that. All right, guys, that's it for Heroes. You can always write in at #Collider Heroes for next week's show. And actually, next week's show is going to be a very special show where we're basically going to talk about the past, present, and future of superhero movies. We live in the golden age of superhero films now. We're going to kind of like talk about the last couple of years of films, the present year of films, and the foregoing future of superhero films and television. So stay tuned next week for that. And thanks again for tuning in. Umberto, where can people find you online?
You can find me at heroichollywood.com and on social media at heroichollywood.com and at El Mayimbe.
Right on. John, where can people find you?
You can find me Monday through Friday, often with Schnepp on Movie Talk. And of course, you can follow me on Twitter and on Facebook simply at John Campea.
And you guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Jon Schnepp and at TDOSLWH. You can find my film, The Death of Superman Lives, What Happened, at www.tdoslwh.com. You can buy the digital download or a Blu-ray and support independent film. Once again, this is Collider's Heroes, episode 20. Thanks again. I'll see you next week.